Well, at least what I plan on working on today doesn't involve being outside. Today what we're doing is working on the 302. We're focusing on our valve cover leaks. So I've got a kit, new gaskets that we're going to put in there. I have another gasket for the intake manifold because that's probably going to tear. So I bought that too. And then, let's see what else. Oh, I bought new spark plugs. I didn't really trust what was going on in there, and hopefully we can get those out. They're just a little crusty. But I just bought 8 of the copper Motorcraft plugs. They were cheap and, well, they're OE, and since that engine runs so good, we're going to treat it to OE stuff. Got our Molly intake plenum gasket. We'll match this up before we rip her open. And then these are the Fel-Pro valve cover gaskets that we're going to use, and it works for the 5.8, 5 liter, and some other engines. Probably fits some Chevys too. That's what it looks like. So we'll make sure that fits too. Hopefully we don't have to return any of that. I bought it all for a Ford 302, so it better work. We need to see if this thing will fire up. It's been sitting for a week now, and you know, when I changed batteries on this thing, it never had any big zappy zaps, so I'm thinking it's probably not, doesn't have a parasitic drain. The only reason why I bring that up is because this battery that was in the truck was deader than a doornail, and it's only a year old, and it wouldn't hold a charge. And it seemed like it got better, but then you go and start it and it was just total crap. So I put my yellow top in here, which has about 200 more cranking amps than that stock battery. It fires right up, and you know, I start it up once in a while and it runs, it fires up, it doesn't crank slow or anything. And so now it's been sitting for a week, and it's been really cold, and it's been trying to snow. Well, it's snowing right now, but it's not sticking. I already had my fun at Mount Hood with that, so it doesn't have to stick here. But we need to see if this will fire up. I gotta do a couple more things. I'm trying to get this squared away so I can pull right in here and have a little room to work on, and we'll be somewhat warm and out of the elements. I don't know if you heard me cycle the key a couple times. What I was doing is I was just priming the fuel system, and it fired up no problem. So that was pretty nice, eh? Now, I'm fairly comfortable in my suit. I'm wearing a thick jacket, got this on, I have a pair of shorts on, and then winter socks. And the winter socks are pulled up around my calves. So, I'm comfortable, and then when I go in the house to use the bathroom or something, I catch on fire immediately. So, I'm not going to bother putting the heater on out here. We need to get some lights set up. Unfortunately, I don't think I have my fluorescent light bar anymore, because I kind of, well, actually, Adam broke that. That was his fault. Let's see, can we... You know what we might do? I'm going to move some more things around, and then we're actually going to just pull the truck right under our light here. And we should be much better off because I want a little more light to see. So let me do that. Alright, tubes, that's some pretty good light there now. I can see everything that I'm doing. You'll have to excuse the white noise behind you. That's the battery charger going. I personally didn't want to work out here totally quiet, so that's one reason why that's going. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and get in here and do these valve cover gaskets. We need to remove some things. And one thing being, probably start with this bracket, or actually even the air cleaner. We can take the air cleaner off. I don't know how that's attached to the engine, so I'll need to figure that out. Okay, so yeah, let's start with this air cleaner tube. Let's get this out of the way. I just happen to have the tool we used the last time with that. I just need my battery. Good to go. Alright. Set that right there. Now, if it were nicer out, I'd get my pressure washer and just blast this whole thing, get all these nasty pine needles and stuff out of here. But I just want to show you the inside of these are dry. This thing doesn't really have, you know, a ton of glow by it. I'm sure it has some, but it's not puking oil through the breather into the air box. And we didn't see any on the air filter that was in here, so that's a good sign. I just don't know how this thing's attached to the engine. You could probably get this intake tube off of here, hopefully without killing it. I bet you it's probably bolted on. So let's unclip it. These like to fall off, so just keep track of those and they will go back on. So get this out of here. But yeah, that this K&N filter fits right on there. I'm gonna clean the air box while we're at it. And this filter actually I can wash. Yeah, looks like we got 4 bolts holding it on. Looks like it's missing a breather screen, but you know, let me show you. The only thing that's really been in there is just oil vapor. There's no pools of it. So I mean, it's just got some pine needles and stuff in there. So that's a good 302. I don't know if it was ever rebuilt or you know, I really don't know anything about this engine other than what I can tell that has obviously been done to it. And let's see, what did I have on there? 5/16. It's probably a 10 millimeter. And every time I turn around, I kick something. 7/16 fits pretty good. Oh. Can't reach? Get a longer extension. I'm actually going to get this AC harness kind of out of our way. Or at least up and over like that. We're going to have to disconnect a lot of that stuff. Oh, there's a little bracket on the side. Let's Let me push that too. Okay, I'm just gonna try and push this off here. Like that. Just get off of there. Okay, what do we got going on here? Is it on a bracket? Is it really though? No, it's not really on a bracket. Pop that off of there. Okay, and that decides that it wants to come off. And just snake that on out of there. And it's got some twigs and stuff in it. Some dead bugs. I'm sorry, I didn't reposition the camera. You guys missed all that. This elbow just needs a little love. And we'll clean all that out here later. See, this side we don't need to remove the intake manifold to get at our business here. Let's see, where does this harness move back around? Wow. Ugh. I'm going to be sort of in your guys' way for a brief moment here. Okay, I'm hoping you guys can get a little better look at what I'm doing. Make sure you actually cut the looming and not your vacuum hoses. Oy. That would be a bad day. Yeah, so at least for now, this motor, this engine, this little 302, it's gonna stay here. I've been, pretty happy with this so far. I mean, it's got a lot of work done to it, and it's not puking oil at its breather, and I mean, it leaks a little bit because, well, you wouldn't seal either. There's no gasket there. So that's one reason why we got a little bit of leak here, but on the other side where there isn't a breather, and just the PCV, and it's fairly sealed up, it's still wet over there. So that's kind of a problem. So that's why we're here just doing this anyways. Hopefully this intake manifold comes out without any issues with the bolts. We do need to remove this screw here. It looks like it has a captive nut, so we should be good there. Looks like it's been off before, so somebody's done a lot of top end stuff on this. So we need to get that off, and it looks like we've got just a bolt here. I'm willing to bet that this engine had some kind of problem, and it could have burnt a valve or something. I have a friend who's got a blue 86, and has a kind of similar situation, it's got a burnt valve, but it still runs really good. What's this all go down to? This is a diode. I always want to tape that stuff up so it's not dangling, but there's a reason that it's not taped up. Okay, so what do we got here? We got a, what do you think, 12? 12 deep, which is not there, but it's probably in my bag here. Let's slap a 13 on there. Hey, that fits pretty good. The baby ratchet. It's already got a 5/16 on it, which, let's see. Look at that. At the point of kind of taking our valve cover out. So let's see. You know, this little guy here. All of these I want to put under this wire harness here. I don't think I have anything big enough to wrap that. Don't let it match. Alright, we'll let that evaporate real quick. I was gonna clean up these valve covers and paint them Ford blue, but we'll probably pass. I don't even think we have Ford blue. I think we used it all up. Now I've got a bazillion different ideas of what I would like to do with this truck. If this if this 302 ever did take a crap, I've been thinking, what engine would I put in it? And you know, like a 351 or a 460 big block kind of comes to mind. You know, wouldn't that be cool? Put a big block in here. The best part about, you know, swapping another Ford engine is that, you know, you can get AC parts all day long. The reason why that's the first thing I brought up is because I would love to have one of these trucks with freaking air conditioning. You know, if I ever go to swap a different, you know, engine in here, it's gonna have air conditioning. I think I have some air left in my compressor there, so let's grab some hose here. You know what? It's a necessity. I got some Scotch or 3M Super 33 here. All this stuff's supposed to be taped up for a reason. It really adds an extra layer of protection to your wires from chafing and thermal wear, and you know, you unwrap a lot of this wiring and you're gonna see almost brand new wiring. And that probably drives some people nuts when I tear it like that, but have to go in the house to get scissors worth a damn. So all I've got is, well, I'm gonna reuse part of this. And then I'll go back down here. And then I don't think this is quite big enough, but let's see if it'll fit. Goes here. Oops, got too long. Can we just lay it over top of it? You know, just do something like that so it's somewhat protected. It'll fap off. There's one screw. Got another one down here. This kind of looks like it has a cork gasket. I have the rubber one, so hopefully this thing won't leak like crazy. So there was one back here. You know, when I got my 82 over there, the one that you guys love, that one, I also had to put valve cover gaskets in it. Well, anyways, that thing leaked oil like crazy with its factory valve cover gaskets. I think that 351 came from an F250. Oh, this is for holding on the spark plug things, which you might fix one of these days. I do want to make a thing to separate these wires, and then just attach them somewhere so they're just cleanly loomed up and just in happier array than they are now. We got another one here. Yeah, I think you can smell it burning oil. Just because it was leaking out of the valve covers. Let's see if I can get my sausage fingers down here. That was also a stud. So the studs go in the front, and those are for the spark plug wire looms. There's a stud back here, I forgot. I'm gonna probably sit those in a thing of carbon choke cleaner and forgot what I was saying, but it doesn't matter anymore. Come on, get out of there. Not too bad. Looks like, yeah, we got an old cork gasket here. Don't know who makes it, but it's just awful. No valve adjustment. I don't know if this is a roller engine. I'm a little unfamiliar with these actually, because I've mostly just had a 4BT in my truck the whole time, but I don't remember what year Ford came out with roller. Okay, so I'm trying to make this valve cover just at least be gooey free, just be clean, so that way if there's any oil leaks we can see new leaks. I I could use brake cleaner, but I'm saving my brake cleaner for other stuff. This I hardly ever use, and this is just turning this stuff into mud. Useless. So here's what I've been doing. I've been getting it to where it catches on fire, just about. God, my nose is running again. Get to where it catches fire and smokes real nice and good, and then I take a little wire brush, and it comes right off. See, this was all caked. I can't even show you because of the light. That was caked with shmoo. So smoking. And I said it once, I'll say it again. If you don't have a holder for your torch, you need to get one. That's if you use the handheld one. So, yeah, this, it dries it right up and then it just comes right off. Once it starts to smell like you're burning diesel, you know you've done your job. So these are labeled. Cover side. Yeah, so they will go in like that, and they match up. This is gonna be nice. I haven't used this style before. I'm hoping this keeps that nice and dry. So that'll be sweet. So I need to, I'm gonna grab my hammer and go kind of flatten, or I'm gonna try and flatten some of these holes out. And should be able to seal pretty good. I'm gonna spare you the nonsense noise of that hammering. Manning surface here, make sure we don't have any dirt. Looks good. I think what I'll do is this is gonna go like this. I'll set this in here. Like so. Because it's got a metal thing in there, it actually makes it so we can just grab it and push the whole thing up in one shot. So then, take this, shove it all the way back. Caught on here. I think we're in. Okay, I forgot to do one thing. I need to clean the screws. I want to get all the gunk off, and I'm gonna cook them and then clean them up and then throw them in. So, let me show you what I've been doing here. This is making this really easy. Sometimes I overcomplicate things more than they need to be. So get them in my vice grip here. Grab a torch. And get it red hot. your brush, and just knock the crap. It just falls right off. Nice and clean. It's also incredibly hot, and if you happen to have some snow on your cowling, you can just run it through there. And should be okay to touch. I've already got 2 bolts or 2 screws in, so it's got the gasket aligned. I mean, you really can't mess up the gasket because it's so stiff. It you know, once you get a couple bolts in, she's pretty much there. I just leave them loose, and then once you got them all in there, then you can just kind of, you know, start from the inside, get these 2 snug, and then just do kind of a star pattern, and we should be good to go. It looks a little bit cleaner. I mean, I'd like to have painted it, but you know what? I just have it dirt-free is good enough for me. So since we're over here on this side, let's go ahead and pop a spark plug out. We're gonna start from the rear. So I'm able to pull a plug wire without, you know, killing the wire. Wow. There we go. Well, at least it wasn't loose. And it's got a little bit of oil on it. It's got a little bit of oil on it from the inside too. I haven't seen it burn oil though. Well, we got new plugs. Runs good though. I don't know if my compression tester will fit in there. I thought about doing a compression test on it. Wow, so we got a new plug here. Now normally I buy like the best platinum whatever kind of plugs. But for these old engines really just all they need is the old copper ones. And I'm running the Motorcraft copper, just standard cheapo plugs. Like I said, this engine runs really good, and it actually, you know, it gets along just fine for being kind of an unknown engine. And also being a junkyard truck, you know. So I'm gonna give it some good plugs here. These are older Motorcrafts. This is a 32C and I've got a 42CA. And now these are really the only Motorcraft copper plugs listed for this engine that I could find on Summit Racing anyways. They look similar. There's some slight design changes, and it looks like the electrode might be slightly different, but it's kind of hard to tell because the black kind of changes the look of it. So we have to gap these. Okay, I'm gonna go by factory spec. Spark plug gap is 42 thousandths to 46 thousandths. I keep losing my spark plug gappers, so I've got another one. So they said 42 thousandths to 46. You know, what if we just went bottom end of the spec, gave it a tight gap, which would probably be okay. So we're right at, we're past spec. You didn't just see that. Okay. just gently tweak that. Wow, that little bit there got me kind of where I want to be. What I'm going to do for a spec, I think I got this at 43. This is how I'm going to do it. I'm just going to wait till this edge of the little tab here, I'm going to just line it up right next to that 40 thousandths mark, and that should put me about 42, 43. That's how I'm going to gap it. Click. Get out of there. Ah, yeah, come on. Okay, not too bad. A little wet. But then again, I just barely ran it and it was kind of cold, and looks like that cylinder's running okay. I mean, who knows? Someone could have just took the heads off, cleaned them real good, and put new gaskets on and then called it a day. We probably have old, seals and stuff, so, that could be our little problem there. But, if we got to do heads, we're getting GT40 heads. Okay, looking for a little, I'll give her 20 foot-pounds. Good. Okay. I was gonna order a new brake booster, but I'm trying to get a Cardone unit. Summit Racing, that won't ship theirs out until like February. But AutoZone one had some bad reviews, or at least a bad review, and it kind of is making me weary of it. I think Advance has the ones that I want. It's about 80 bucks. One of you guys is going to come and buy the canopy that was on this truck, and I'm going to use that money to buy the brake booster. So the brake booster right now is what's causing this to high idle, and it's a little unnerving, but idles down somewhat. Okay, so this one's looking pretty good. Just got oil on it from the valve cover leak, but that helped us remove this. Looks like it was seating pretty good all the way. It's amazing how oil still got in there if it was seated down all the way. Some of them could have oiled the threads when they put it in there. Who knows? Yeah, plug looks okay. It was at least running good on that cylinder. We could have a dirty injector on this other cylinder back here, and that could just be carbon and fuel and stuff that's just built up. So I may actually run some fuel injector cleaner through this. We got a chafed wire there, I just noticed. Anyway, sorry, getting sidetracked here. So yeah, that looks okay. We'll run some fuel cleaner, and maybe we'll run a round of premium through it. Okay, I'll give her a little torque and click. Some guys are like, how do you get fuel economy out of these trucks? Well, a healthy engine is one. Having a good set of spark plugs and wires, all that goes a long way. Clean fuel filter. Check your tire pressure, make sure it's optimal. 35 psi probably. And I'll wipe this off. Covered in schmoo. Steering alignment. Change your transmission fluid. Run your fresh full synthetic. run good engine oil, put some hyperlube in it maybe, run a fuel cleaner through it. There are a lot of things that you can do, but a lot of it, you know, really is down to, you know, rolling resistance and fancy stuff like that. Rolling resistance will kill fuel economy in one of these rigs. Even if you got like an IDI or a Cummins. Man, I'm getting some Ford Racing plugs for this. Make this a race truck. A race truck. Okay. Let's try that. Might change it to some long pants here. I've got shorts on right now. It's fine, but I think that's done a little bit warmer. Yeah, that looks okay. That's where I'm at. Good chunk, good chunk. 300 foot-pounds? Just kidding, not tightening that bad. Jeez. God almighty. See. Let's hit that with something. What should we hit it with? I've got graphite lubricant. I hate that. Starting fluid. We got fluid film. I know I had some penetrating fluid around here somewhere. Around these parts. I don't know where it went. Unless I put it on the shelf. Tubes, it's your guys' fault. Let's just spray it with something, alright? Let's see. 1 inch. .24 millimeter. Ugh. Nope. How about a 1 inch? Nope. 1 1/16. Yeah, that sure is it. Let's see. If we go that way, that's tightening. There we go. Ooh, I was kind of, yeah, I was scared. And then the WD-40 just soaks up. Let me see. We're gonna check that and make sure that tube's not cracked. I don't hear any exhaust leaks on this thing. It's pretty taut. Oh, there is a vacuum line back here. This goes to the PCV valve, but you know what we could probably do? Is just that. Just take it right out. I think that was it. How do you get to that bolt back there? What a pain in the ass. That's it, we're putting a carburetor on this. Can you even see what I'm looking at? Let's see, how can I show you what I'm looking at? because everything's in the way, but only I can see it somehow. You can just barely see it and the camera won't focus. But I don't fucking know. I don't know. Alright, tubes, I got it. I use this to install my injection pump in my 4BT Cummins. And the bend I had on there already was the right bend that's needed to get this bolt. I just don't know how you'd put any torque on it. Luckily this bolt was already loose. So I don't know how Ford ever torques this down, like how. That one. Let me go release tension on the one in the back. Got two back here. Loose. Alright, now if everything is released properly, it should just come out. It looks like you can get a socket through there and then get it that way. I don't know. Why do they gotta make it that tight? Sell you a tool? Alright. What do we got going on here? Not tea bag. We've got some spark plug wire issues. Oh, look at that. That's not good. I wonder if somebody was tapping into this so they could diagnose a misfire or something. Well, it wasn't leaking because that bolt was loose. I could have reused this gasket. Somebody was in there recently, though. Somebody was definitely in there recently. There's our fuel lines looking. I'll just leave that alone. Let's see. We need a wide roll of masking tape. So here's that wire repaired. I had a piece of yellow wire that matched the gauge, so put some heat shrink over it. After soldering, I got a nice solder joint on there. Okay, tubes, we're back from our break. This is the plug that I took out from the rearmost cylinder. Yeah. Anyways, it looks okay. It's got a little bit of oil on it. That's just from the valve cover leaking some oil. That's fine, which worked out in our favor. So that's that. I'll grab a new one here. And, well, my garbage box is getting a little full. I'll take our little champion. And like I was going for was somewhere around that 40,000 mark, which is way off. So, let's see, where's that orange hammer? Oh, right here. Just tap it a little bit here. And I'm just going to kind of work this a tiny bit. If you had spark plugs that were platinum tipped, you would not want to do this. In fact, those would actually be pre-gapped. And, shit, I got that too far. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at doing right there. That's what I did for the other 4 spark plugs on the driver's side. Was that measurement right there, about get this very edge right on the 40 thousandths. That should put us at the minimum spec for this truck per the manufacturer, and for how good this engine runs, we're gonna roll with that spec. Okay, I'll spin that like that. Come on, thread in there. I'm really happy that these spark plugs are even coming out. Get that down there, and then we're gonna give it a little click. That should be good enough. We have one wire here. I've been a little kind of anal about how these wires have been going because I don't know. I want them to be neat. And so this one, I'm going to take like that. We'll go past this EGR tube, and then we'll just. So we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so this one should go back here. It's kind of long for a plug wire. But we're going to do our little separator thing that we did over here to make it kind of neat. So those two are okay, so let's get that one out. This one, I think this is the one that we initially found that was loose when I first got the truck, so we're just going to go, we're going kind of in order. Let's just take that out. So far, we've had one spark plug look kind of gnarly. This is pretty clean. This is kind of what you want to see. So in a way, our little junkyard truck here is actually running pretty good. And this is obviously not the spark plug that we found that was disconnected. This is still pretty clean. So we'll go for our next new one here. I want it to be kind of within that area. That'll be fine. Because the other plugs have been way more than that, so we'll put that in there. And you see my breath. That's how cold it is in here. In fact, I think it's snowing again outside. Which, here, not a big deal. If you live around Mount Hood, different story. Okay, and we'll give this a nice little clink, and that should be tight enough. So then we got that one. And when I've been taking these out, I look at every one and make sure that little metal collar is down there, so we're not ripping these apart. So we can get that one out. The fun one will be over here, which you can barely see, And that plug wire I have dangling in front of the engine. So that one's already off. But this one here that we're working on now is that crusty one that was unplugged when we got this truck. And so let's take a look at that one. I wonder why it was unplugged in the first place. It could be that somebody was like, oh, I'm just trying to figure out why this thing's running like a bag of ass. Or maybe they unplugged it and I don't know, they could have just, you know what? We'll leave it unplugged and we're just gonna send this thing to the junkyard because, you know, Uncle Joe just passed away and we want to get rid of his stuff. And actually that's kind of what me and some other people thought. Maybe somebody just got tired of this thing and didn't want to go with it anymore. Who knows? Could have been Uncle Joe's truck. Oh man, he's got a lot of work put in that thing. Let's send it to the junkyard. All it needs is a couple $100 worth of attention. So there's that crappy one that, you know, wasn't hooked up. It looks like it was kind of but it's obviously been igniting something because it's not totally soaking wet. So I might have tapped it a little bit too much. So, you know, if you're not careful with your taps, you might get a little too far there, but we'll just keep working it here. A little too far there. We'll give it one little schwack. And that's kind of where I want to be. And then we'll go ka-chunk. That should be good. None of these have been really loose, so that's really nice. So I've been giving them the same amount of torque it takes to remove them. So, let's see where's where. Right here. Like that. Now when I'm done here, after I get this fourth one done, well, if you want to get technical, seventh one, I'm going to make some dividers here for the spark plug wires and make them real neat like we did the other side, so this is not just flopping around on stuff, and just so it looks neat and kind of factory. So now we got this one here, the last one that we need to try and get, and let's see if we can just get it with the ratchet and a plug socket. Okay, so now we got this little air diverter valve here. And then I'll have to reach back here and get this on here. Luckily we got some flex there. Okay, we're good there. Looks like we can just go ka-chunk like that. And of course now it doesn't want to stick on the plug. There we go. Get that out of there. And yet again, we have another dry plug. I don't really know what's up with that one in the back on the driver's side. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, this engine runs pretty good, so we'll probably just send her home. That'll be good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna reach under here and this plug in here. Try and get it in straight. Okay, feels like we got it in straight. Well, I'm hoping this little V8 runs pretty good after all this. I mean, it already does run pretty good, but I'm hoping it just, you know, stays that way. Give the old yeehaw. That's good enough. All right, let's do that. Real lightly. This is your redneck wire tie separator kit here. You don't have to do this, but I'm doing it because it's free and cheap. And it looks good. And then I'm also trying to make sure I get the orientation of the zip tie so it matches the other one I just threw on there. Yeah, so we'll go a little snug and then we'll pull this one like that. Pull that one like that, and that's good for that one. And then what I'll do with these is I'll do one big zip tie like I did the other side and just bundle them up. So this will hopefully keep them from cross-talking, and also will keep them from interfering with other wires, other harnesses, and will also keep them from rubbing on stuff, which is a big problem when you have a lot of metal nearby. So we'll do that. Ka-chunk. Chunk. Okay, I'm gonna take my little side cuts here. Cut them off as close as possible. And then same here. Same here. And so that really cleans up the wiring. Now, there at one point was probably a little thing that clipped on all four of these and then hooked into this little boss right here on the valve cover. But, you know, guess what? The 80s and 90s are over. That's not happening. All that stuff's gone. I don't have new ones to replace that with. So we're going to go with this, which is keeping this all from rubbing on things that it shouldn't be rubbing on. So we're not leaking all over the place, so we're going to cut our zip tie here. All this is now good. We got a new wire here. This is taped off all nice. And then this is the final end of all the tape. So whatever tries to come apart, that heat shrink has to come off first. And then we got this wire looming here to just be the ultimate chafe master. Keep that from becoming a problem. So hopefully if we ever decide to, oh hey, in the summertime, let's take this truck to Idaho. That'd be a lot of fun. Hopefully we shouldn't have a breakdown. Now, before we get too crazy, put the intake back on. Let's take a slight peek under here. Now this all looks like someone went to AutoZone and bought new parts and was just throwing stuff at it. But I just want to take a little peek and make sure all this stuff under here is clean. So yeah, this looks fairly clean. It's got some obvious arcing from, you know, just normal use. It's not worn down. It's not heavily corroded. We don't have any cracking. This piece here, which is very important, is still good. Now this is a little worn, but nothing really for anyone to write home about. So we're gonna put this back down here and clip this on. I figured this would be pretty good, just based on the amount of money somebody already put in this truck before I sent it to the junkyard. You know, what a shame. I mean, all it really has needed so far is just some TLC. I'm trying to do everything right for this thing. Because I guess if you do that, things run better. So this should be something like that. So we leave our gasket like that, put our intake manifold on there, and then we're good to go. then we'll take our conveniently fitting Lincoln Towncar Performance air cleaner. I was going to clean it, but it's still fairly clean, so leave that alone. That actually literally fits in this air box. I mean, like it was supposed to be there. So I'd imagine if you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a washable air filter for this truck. Well, guess what? Can-An's got one for you. Started, so that's good. We'll give it a minute to warm up and see how she runs. And you know what? It ran for what? A minute, and it idled down. And now, even with a leaking brake booster, purring like a kitty. Purring like the cat getting her butt scratched. I'd say she's pretty happy. How wet the floor is. Well, I can't wait to see how it idles with that new brake booster in it. That'll idle even lower. I'm happy with that. See you later, tubes!